Hallo nochmal, guten Tag. So, Kapitel 8.2, 8.3, 8.4, modal verbs. We're finally getting to the modal verbs, so that will be fun. But first we have to look at the answers for the last set of exercises. So, Übung, translate the sentences, separable prefix verbs. Nummer 1. Wann holst du deine Freundin ab? So you'd have to know that ab goes with hoist, and you look up, then you unconjugate this, and then put the prefix back on, and you would find that that means to pick up, right? So, wann holst du deine Freundin ab means when are you picking your girlfriend up? Or you could also say, when are you picking up your girlfriend? You can move it around in English sometimes. Or you could just, I have the progressive here, but you could say, when do you pick up your girlfriend? When do you pick your girlfriend up? Lots of possibilities there. Nummer 2. Wann kommt Herr Schulz an? So you would need to know that an is actually part of this verb, kommt. So ankommen, which is to arrive. So when is Mr. Schulz arriving? Ruft seine Großmutter an. So an goes with the verb, this verb rufen. So anrufen, which means to call up on the phone. He's calling his grandmother. He calls his grandmother. He's calling his grandmother. Wann hört der Film auf? When does the film stop or end? Because aufhören means to stop. And this is one where if you didn't know that this was related to the verb, you might think, when does the film hear up? Which is not the meaning at all. It's when does the film stop? Ich räume mein Zimmer auf. I am cleaning up my room, or I clean my room. Wann stehen Sie morgen auf? When are you getting up tomorrow? Ich fülle das Formular aus. I'm filling out the form. I fill out the form. Wir gehen am Freitag aus. We're going out on Friday. Or we go out on Friday. Sie kauft am Nachmittag ein. She shops in the afternoon. Mein Freund sieht niemals fern. My friend or boyfriend never watches TV. Niemals. Okay, so then we have this little story that has verbs with both separable or inseparable prefixes. So, mein Freund und ich waren letzte Woche in Wien und es hat uns sehr gut gefallen. Gefallen is one of these dative verbs we were talking about not too long ago. So, es hat uns sehr gut gefallen. That's it. That pronoun is in the dative. It was very pleasing to us. But now we're actually in the this whole thing is going to be in the perfect. So these are all participles. So gefallen ends up being the same in the participle as it is in the infinitive. It's kind of a tricky thing, but basically the ge is an inseparable prefix. It's what you add to make participles, but it has a double role. It can also be an inseparable prefix. So gefallen is a verb already, and then because ge is an inseparable prefix, you're not going to add another ge. And then because fallen is irregular, it's strong, that's the en ending. So gefallen is it was pleasing to us. It pleased us. So we liked it a lot, you could say. Ich habe meine Zahnbürste vergessen. Vergessen is another one that we got this inseparable prefix, ver, and then it's strong verb, so the en. So it's like, I forgot my toothbrush. I have forgotten my toothbrush, you could also say. But it's a past participle that looks just like the infinitive. Aber das macht nichts, but that is not a big deal. That doesn't matter. Ich habe eine neue in Wien gekauft. I bought a new one in Vienna. Wir sind jeden Morgen sehr früh aufgestanden. So aufgestanden is, of course, aufstehen. And you can see auf is a separable prefix. We got up very early every morning. Den ganzen Tag sind wir in der Stadt herumgelaufen. So we have herum, which is around. So the whole day we ran around the city. We ran around in the city. Wir haben jede Kirche angesehen. So ansehen, to look at. So we looked at every church. Und es gibt sehr viele Kirchen in Wien. And there are a lot of churches in Vienna. Wir haben keine einzige Kirche verpasst. This is an inseparable prefix. Verpassen means to miss. So we didn't miss one single church. Yeah. Ich habe in den Cafés zu viel Kaffee getrunken. This is just the normal past tense. I drank too much coffee in the cafés. Und zu viel Torte gegessen. That's how it is in Vienna. Lots of coffee and cake all the time. Am Samstag haben wir uns das Theaterstück Heldenplatz angeschaut. So there's a separable prefix an. We watched, anschauen. Ja. Ich war so müde und ich bin eingeschlafen. I was so tired and I fell asleep. Einschlafen, to fall asleep. So normally it's schlafen, geschlafen, to sleep and then slept. So since it's geschlafen, we've got that strong ending there, the irregular ending. So we're going to maintain that even though we have a prefix. You just put the prefix at the front and then the rest takes the normal participle formation. So then I have my translation, drank too much coffee, etc. So it's das. Okay, yeah, you can see the translation on the corresponding PowerPoint as well. Kapitel 8.2 bis 4, modal verbs. All right, modal verbs are pretty fun because they look a lot like English, especially kann. So, ich kann kochen. Modal verbs express an attitude toward another action, the main verb. They describe the mode of the main verb, right? So, ich kann kochen, I can cook. Kann looks just like English, can. Ich kann kochen, I can cook. Ich muss kochen means that I must cook, or you can also translate as I have to cook. So, ich muss kochen. And you can see the attitude towards the action. So, ich kann kochen, there's a certain, you have an attitude towards cooking, and that's I can do it. And then ich muss kochen is like I have to cook, and that's a different way of feeling about cooking. It's a different attitude towards cooking. And so that's why they're called modal verbs, because they express the mode of however it's the main verb is being related to. So, ich soll kochen, I should cook, or I'm supposed to cook. Ich soll looks a little bit like should. I'm expected to cook, I'm supposed to, or I should. Ich will kochen means I want to cook, and will doesn't look too much like the English want, but we still talk about this now and we say it is my will, or against my will. So in English, will used to mean something more like desire, against my will, against my desire, or it is my will, it is my desire. So the old meaning of English will actually was with desire, want, but now will is just used for the future tense. Oh, when you have someone, your will, what is your will that you write? You write your will to express what your desires are after you die, right? So will is used to mean more like desire, but now we use want for that, and we use will for future. But in German, will means want. It means desire. So ich will kochen, I want to cook. Ich möchte kochen, I would like to cook. This möchte is a very useful verb because, of course, when you order something in a restaurant, you can say ich möchte whenever you want to order. Ich möchte, I don't know, ich möchte eine Pizza. Yeah, ich möchte eine Pizza. Yeah, okay. Ich darf kochen. Darf means may or allowed to, with permission to. I'm allowed to cook. Ich darf kochen. Darf. Okay, so here are the modal verbs in their infinitive forms. So we were just looking at conjugated ones. I have to, I can. These are all conjugated for ich, right? But they have infinitive forms that you need to know because you can combine them in ways where you need the infinitive. So können means to be able to or can. You can't say to can in English, but you can say to be able to. You can combine them in English like I want to be able to do this, then you would need that, right? But you can't say I want to can to do this. So sometimes they don't translate in ways they would in German. Können means to be able to can. Yeah. Müssen means to have to, or you can also say must. And then sollen, to be supposed to or should. Wollen means to want to. Möchten, would like to would like to. It's a little hard to make work in English, but that's the general idea. And then dürfen, to be allowed to or may, to have permission. And then mögen is a little bit of an outlier. We'll see how it works in a minute, but it works quite differently than the other modal verbs. So it's technically on the list, but it needs to be sort of looked at separately. Okay, so können, to be able to or can. Ich kann, du kannst, sie es kann, wir können, ihr könnt, sie können, sie können. So you see all the singulars on the left side. Ich kann, du kannst, sie es kann. Those all take a vowel change that make them look more like English, I can. So ich, du, sie, es, singulars, those all have the vowel change. But then wir können, ihr könnt, sie können, sie können, those don't take a vowel change because they're the same as the infinitive. Können, wir können. So these ones all have that same vowel from the infinitive, and the singulars take vowel change. So we could say, for example, ich kann nicht schwimmen. I can't swim. I cannot swim. Kannst du gut Gitarre spielen? Can you play guitar well? Wir können zusammen fahren. We can ride together. Könnt ihr auch mitkommen? Can y'all come with too, or can y'all come along too? So one important thing here is you notice that we have the modal verb in the normal position, second position for a normal statement, and then these are yes or no questions, so they get it first position, yes or no question. But otherwise, second position, and the modal verb takes that normal verb position. It's the conjugated verb, so it's like the active verb. And then whatever other verb you want to use with it goes all the way to the end of the sentence. You save it to the end. So modal verb, regular position, infinitive at the end of the sentence. So müssen is to have to or must. Ich muss, du musst, sie es muss. Wir müssen, ihr müsst, sie müssen, sie müssen. So you see that we have the same thing with the vowel change. Müssen has an umlaut, and all the plurals have the umlaut as well. Wir müssen, ihr müsst, sie müssen, sie müssen. So these are conjugated as you would expect. Those are normal. But then on the singular side, we have a vowel change, plus the endings. I don't know if I mentioned that with this one as well. The ich kann, it doesn't have any ending, and sie es kann, so the naked ending is here. Ich, sie es, naked ending, but then the du kannst, that gets an ending. Same with this one, ich muss, because if you take off the en and you get a stem, that's how the stem ends, right? So ich muss, sie es muss, we get a vowel change and naked ending. And then the du just has a vowel change, and it gets a little ending. And then all the rest are regular. Ich muss meine Hausaufgaben machen. I have to do my homework, or I must do my homework. Yeah, I must as well. If you translated it with word for word, with the word order the same, it would be, I must my homework do. But what you need to do is take machen, take the other verb, and then when you translate it, you put it back here next to put the verbs back together. So you get I have to do, I must do. Ich muss machen. Musst du morgen arbeiten? Do you have to work tomorrow? Must you work tomorrow? And it's really must you tomorrow work, right? Arbeiten all the way to the end. Wir müssen nach Berlin fahren. We have to drive to Berlin. Wir müssen, so müssen is in the normal verb position, second position. And then whatever else you need to do in the sentence, you may need to add all sorts of fun things in here, some details. But then you have that other verb, whatever other verb you're going to use, as an infinitive at the very end of the sentence. Müsst ihr ein neues Buch kaufen? Do y'all have to buy a new book? It's a yes or no question, so verbs first. And then the other verb, to buy, is at the end of the sentence. Sollen, to be supposed to or should. Ich soll, du sollst. Sie, es soll. Wir sollen, ihr sollt. Sie sollen, sie sollen. So this one is a little easier. It doesn't have any vowel changes. So sollen, it has just a O in the infinitive, and then as you would expect, these are all normal, the plurals, and then there's no vowel changes anywhere in this whole conjugation. But basically, the only irregular thing is that there's no ending on ich soll, er soll, naked ending. All the rest have their expected endings, though. Ich soll meine Hausaufgaben machen. I should do my homework. I should my homework do. Ich soll meine Hausaufgaben machen. Sollst du morgen arbeiten? In this case, it sounds better to say, are you supposed to work tomorrow? As in, are they expecting you to work tomorrow? Are you supposed to? Sollst du morgen arbeiten? Wir sollen das Auto waschen. We should wash the car. It can be like a suggestion to yourself or to other people. Wir sollen das Auto waschen. We should wash the car. Mein Bruder soll am Freitag babysitten. My brother is supposed to babysit on Friday. He should, or he's supposed to. Should happen. Wollen, to want to. This one does have a vowel change, so it's a little different from sollen. So we have ich will, du willst, sie es will, wir wollen, ihr wollt, sie wollen, sie wollen. So all the ones in the plurals again. The plurals are as you would expect to conjugate that. But then the singulars, ich will, du willst, sie es will. We've got a vowel change and then no ending on ich will, sie es will. So, meine Schwester will nach Italien fliegen. So it's very tempting to translate this as my sister will fly to Italy, right? But it doesn't mean that at all. It means she wants to. She wants to in the present. Her wanting is happening right now. I think the reason it's so tempting to think about it as a future thing is because we want things to happen in the future, right? I want it right now, but it's often the topic is something that is in the future, right? I want something, and then we're talking about something in the future, but my wanting is happening right now. So it's still in the present tense, and it expresses something different. Obviously, she wants to fly to Italy. It doesn't mean that she will fly to Italy, especially with who knows, you can fly to Italy, right? So yeah, it's really important to notice that ich will and sie es will, du willst, want to, not future, but present, wanting. Willst du morgen ins Disneyland gehen? Do you want to go to Disneyland tomorrow? Willst du? Do you want to go? Want you tomorrow to Disneyland to go? Yeah. Wir wollen Eis zum Frühstück essen. We want ice cream for breakfast to eat. Isn't it interesting? Sometimes in English, we want ice cream for breakfast to eat. It sounds kind of okay. But of course, we want to eat ice cream for breakfast. Yeah. Ich will niemals Lakritz essen. I never want to eat licorice. Ich will niemals. I want never Lakritz, licorice, essen. Yeah, I never want to eat licorice. Okay. Möchten. Would like to. This one's technically in the subjunctive, which we will get into more later. But for now, you can just memorize the forms. So, möchten is would like to. Ich möchte. Du möchtest. Sie es möchte. Wir möchten. Ihr möchtet. Sie möchten. Sie möchten. So the stem ends in a T, so that's why we've got these sort of these endings. Möchtet. Du möchtest. But this has a very different ending situation than something like will is naked ending. Ich will, sie es will, naked ending. But here we do have an E here, ich möchte, and sie es möchte. So this one is a little different because it's in the subjunctive, which means would like to is like a hypothetical, right? A conditional. So ich möchte einen Apfel essen. I would like to eat an apple. I would like an apple to eat. Yeah. Ich möchte einen Apfel. So you can just leave it just as similar to how you would in English. I would like to eat an apple versus I would like an apple. Both are fine. If you would like a noun, you can just say I would like noun. Or you can say I would like a bunch of other stuff involving another verb. Möchtest du einen Apfel? Would you like an apple? Möchtest du einen Apfel? Wir möchten morgen zum Park gehen. We would like tomorrow to the park to go, as in we would like to go to the park tomorrow. Take gehen, put it back next to the modal verb. We would like to go to the park tomorrow. Okay, möchten versus wollen, just a note on the usage of these two. Möchten is a more polite form of wollen, right? So you can say, wir wollen eine Banane essen. We want to eat a banana. It's not so polite. It's not the worst, but it's pretty direct. So you could say it with people you're close to. It's not a big deal. But wir möchten eine Banane essen is much more polite. And you're much more likely to get what you want if you use möchte versus will or wollen. So, dürfen is to be allowed to or may. Ich darf, du darfst, er, sie, es darf, wir dürfen, ihr dürft, sie dürfen, I'm allowed to, you're allowed to, etc. So we've got a vowel change. We have vowel change in dürfen. So we've got the U with the umlaut on all of the plurals, and they have the normal endings you would expect. But then on the singulars, we got a vowel change. Ich darf. And then ich and er, sie, es, no ending. But then du darfst. Vowel change and st. Darf ich ein Stück Kuchen haben? May I have a piece of cake? Yep, so yes or no question, verb first, and then the infinitive at the end. Ja, du darfst ein Stück Kuchen haben. Yes, you may have a piece of cake. You are allowed to have a piece of cake. Darf das Kind mit dem Hund spielen? Darf das Kind mit dem Hund spielen? So you can say, is the kid allowed to play with the dog? Or may the child play with the dog? Or is the child allowed to play with the dog? So either way, you can see how it can be either. And then I guess sometimes may sounds a little stilted in English, depending on the context. So is allowed to sometimes sounds better. Just depends. Yeah, okay. Mögen is quite a strange one. So mögen technically means to like, but there's some rules about how you can use it without it sounding weird. So ich mag, you'll notice that it actually looks like I may, because the G and the Y are often like the word day and Tag, right? Der Tag, T-A-G, is the equivalent of English day, D-A-Y. So Y and G are often switched when you go from English to German. So ich mag, it looks like I may, and in some contexts it does mean like it may happen. So we'll look at some of those, but in general, it means I like something. So it has several different usages that are quite different from each other. Ich mag, I like. Du magst, you like. Er, sie, es mag, he, she, it likes. Wir mögen, ihr mögt, sie mögen. So we've got ö in the infinitive, and then the ö is then maintained all the way through the plural conjugations. But then on the singular side, we have vowel change, and then ich mag, no ending, er, sie, es mag, no ending. So it works very differently from the other modal verbs. It is almost always used alone without a main verb, so you can use it to say that you like a noun. Ich mag Kuchen. I like cake. Ich mag Kuchen. It's just like subject, mögen, form, and then whatever noun you like. Ich mag dieses Buch. I like this book. Magst du David Hasselhoff? Do you like David Hasselhoff? Magst du? Yeah. So one construction that this is often confused with is gern plus a verb versus mögen plus a noun. So if you just want to say I like noun, ich mag Bier, that's fine. But if you want to say I like to drink beer, I like to go swimming, I like to play tennis, any of this stuff, as soon as you're dealing with a verb, I like to do something, I like verb, then you need to go to a different construction. So mögen is no longer what we're going to do. We're going to do gern. So you conjugate the verb and then put gern after it. So ich trinke gern Bier. Gern by itself really just means gladly. It's an adverb. So I drink gladly beer, which really means I like to drink beer. So it's just a similar idea. Ich mag Bier, ich trinke gern Bier, but depending on whether you're going to use a verb or not, you need to use either mögen plus noun or gern plus verb. So we can look at some more. Ich mag Michael, I like Michael. Or ich tanze gern mit Michael. I like to dance with Michael. I dance gladly with Michael. Ich mag Österreich. I like Austria. Ich reise gern nach Österreich. I like to travel to Austria. I travel gladly to Austria. Okay, so mögen plus object without an infinitive means to like. Like ich mag Österreich, ich mag Bier, that's that. Aber möchten plus object means would like. So the difference between ich mag deinen neuen Freund, I like your new friend, subject, mag, and then just whatever you like. And then möchte is, of course, ich möchte eine Tasse Kaffee, I would like a cup of tea, and it's a very different, it's a request almost. Instead of a statement of what you like, it's a request, so a very different situation. So now we have in the book dürfen, können, mögen, müssen, sollen, and wollen. Those are the modal verbs we were just talking about. May, can, like, should, must, should, and want. And then the word order is, of course, very important. So in English we say, you must learn the modal verbs in this chapter. Sie müssen in diesem Kapitel die Modalverben lernen. So must, learn are together in English. But then in German, müssen is a normal verb position. And then learn is all the way at the end of the sentence, lernen. But then it says, aber Achtung, but caution, Achtung, pay attention. You always have to read to the end of the sentence. Sie müssen immer bis zum Ende des Satzes lesen. You must always, to the end of the sentence, read. Yeah. Unlike English, where the modal verb and infinitive occur in tandem, right next to each other, in a German sentence, the conjugated modal auxiliary is in the second position, the normal verb position, and the infinitive is the final position of the clause. So then we will get to that in 8.4, and then they express attitudes or modalities about whatever else is happening in the sentence, the other verb. Dürfen, permission, können, ability, mögen, desire, müssen, necessity, sollen, obligation, and wollen, volition. Oh, volition, that's a good one. Wollen and volition. So related. Never noticed that one before. Okay, so here we have the infinitives, and then we're going to do the simple past as well in a moment. And they all have past participles as well. These are pretty rarely used, but it's good to be able to recognize them. And the present tense with all those vowel changes we were just talking about. So, yeah, let's go over some of these conjugations again. So we have dürfen becomes ich darf, du darfst, er, sie, es darf. Wir dürfen, ihr dürft, sie dürfen. And then ich kann, du kannst, er, sie, es kann, wir können, ihr könnt, sie können. So, and then mögen, so the thing about mögen is it's both of these, right? Mag, that's in the indicative, which is like normal statements, and then möchte is in the subjunctive. That's why they're listed here together. But we can't really get into that completely until we get to the subjunctive, so we will come back to that. But just know that this means I like it and I would like it. You can hear like how one is a statement of fact and one is a hypothetical. I would like it. That's why it's more polite, because you're not assuming something about reality. You're saying, oh, it would be great. It would be. I would like it if it's all right. Yeah. Okay, and then we've got the other ones conjugated we already went over. So let's have some examples. Darf ich hier sitzen? May I sit here? So darf, sitzen. May I here sit? As in may I sit here? Natürlich dürfen Sie das. And so now in the answer, because we already said sitzen, we've established that's the action. Natürlich dürfen Sie das. You can just, if it's already implied what the other verb is, you can just leave it off. So yes, of course you may, as we do that in English too. Yeah, you don't have to replace sitzen. Kann das nicht verstehen. Seine Eltern können es auch nicht verstehen. He can't understand that. His parents can't understand it either. So he can that not understand. His parents can it also not understand. Yeah. So verstehen is the other verb you put next to kann. He can, and then of course not. Yeah. So you put both of these back over here. He can not understand that. Yeah. Was möchten Sie heute machen? What would you like to do today? What would like you today to do? So there's the infinitive at the end. Ich möchte ein Buch lesen. I would like to read a book. Lesen, to read at the end. Wir müssen so schnell wie möglich diese neuen Verbformen lernen. We have to learn these new verb forms as quickly as possible. Yes. So, wir müssen, we have to, and then lernen, to learn, goes all the way to the end. So we got to pluck it out of this position, put it back over here where it would belong in English. Sie will arbeiten, aber ich will nicht. She wants to work, but I don't want to. Was wollen Sie tun? What do you want to do? Note that the first and third person forms of wollen, ich will, sie will, they mean I want to, she wants to. They are misleadingly similar to their appearance, the English will. So, ich werde means I will. That's how you form the future tense. And, there's another unit where the future tense is explained in more detail. So, this is, ich werde is how you make the first part of the future tense. But ich will is wanting to right now, not the future. Even if you're talking about something you want in the future. You want it in the present, even though it's like something that would happen in the future. Okay, so let's look at the simple past. We were doing them all in the present, and now let's get our simple past modal verbs into our toolkit. So, present tense, we just had several of those. So, ich muss am Samstag arbeiten. I have to work on Saturday, or I must work on Saturday. Present tense, right? But now let's look at a simple past. Ich musste am Samstag arbeiten, which means I had to work on Saturday. Now it's in the past. I had to. And so you can't really put if you look at must, like I musted or something, it doesn't work. So sometimes it limits, the simple past is more limited in your choices in translation because we don't put an ending on must like that. Must has to be in the present tense. So you would have to say, I had to work on Saturday. Ich musste am Samstag arbeiten. So see, ich muss versus ich musste. Just a new ending on that. Ich muss 2 Aufsätze schreiben. I have to write 2 essays. And then in the simple past, we're going to say, ich musste 2 Aufsätze schreiben. I had to write 2 essays. Musste. Muss, present. Musste, simple past. And then we have, aber ich will ins Kino gehen, but I want to go to the movies. That's present. I want to right now. But what if we wanted to in the past? Ich wollte ins Kino gehen. I wanted to go to the movies. So it's quite a different, we still have the TE ending you recognize from this one. And you just have to watch out for any vowel changes that may or may not be there. So we'll see them all in the chart. Ich arbeite und dann darf ich ins Kino gehen. I'll work and then I'm allowed to go to the movies. This is present tense. Ich darf, then I'm allowed to, or then I may go to the movies. But what about if we're talking about the past? Ich arbeitete, simple past, und dann durfte ich ins Kino gehen. I worked and then I was allowed to go to the movies. Ich durfte, I was allowed to. TE ending and a little bit of a vowel change as well. So we have some more. Ich will den neuen Joker-Film sehen. I want to see the new Joker movie in the present. But what if you wanted to say, I wanted to see the new movie? Ich wollte den neuen Joker-Film sehen. I wanted to see the new Joker movie. And then, what about, der Film soll 122 Minuten dauern? The film is supposed to last 122 minutes, or the film should last this. I've heard that it should last this long, or people told me it's supposed to last that long. So that's present tense. Is supposed to or should, soll. In the past, we would say, der Film sollte 120 Minuten dauern. The film was supposed to last 122 minutes. Yeah, it was supposed to. That's what I heard. And then, so sometimes you want this in the past as well. And then we have, ich mag den Film sehr. I like the film a lot. And that has an equivalent form in the simple past. And it's, ich mochte den Film sehr. Ich mochte. I liked the film. It's a very good one to sort of memorize. So when people ask you, mochtest du den Film? And you would say, Ja, ich mochte den Film. Yeah. Okay. Then we have, here's a chart of all of the simple past of the modal verbs. So, ich durfte, du durftest, er, sie, es durfte, wir durften, ihr durftet, sie durften. So basically what's happening is, you'll notice all the way down the line, see how all these infinitives have umlauts? Ü, ö, ö, ü. So these four have umlauts in their infinitives, but you'll notice in the simple past they lose all the umlauts, and these ones never had umlauts to begin with, so of course they don't have any. But there's a vowel change in these ones that have umlauts, and the vowel change is that they lose the umlauts. So they have these endings. These are a slightly different set of endings. Ich durfte, du durftest, musste, solltest. It's always this te and then test, and then just the e again. And then, so they have all these endings, and then the umlauts are gone on all of them. Ich wollte, du wolltest, yeah. So all these just have to pay close attention to how that modal verb looks exactly, and look it up if you're not sure whether you're in the present or the past. So let's look at müssen. Ich musste, du musstest, er, sie, es musste. So umlaut in the infinitive, but then no umlaut in the simple past conjugation. Wir mussten, ihr musstet, sie mussten, sie mussten. I had to, you had to. Yeah. Können, simple past. Ich konnte, I was able to. We also sometimes say in English, I could. I could do it, as in I was able to do it, but we also use could as a hypothetical in English too, so it's a little bit ambiguous. But ich konnte means I was able to in the past. Du konntest, you were able to. Er, sie, es konnte, wir konnten, ihr konntet, sie konnten, sie konnten. Sollen, so ich sollte, which is I was supposed to. Ich sollte. Du solltest, er, sie, es sollte, wir sollten, ihr solltet, sie sollten, sie sollten. Wollen, ich wollte, I wanted to. Du wolltest, er, sie, es wollte, wir wollten, ihr wolltet, sie wollten, sie wollten. And then we have the simple past. That's what we were just doing. Ich durfte, du konntest, er mochte, all these were simple past. The perfect form also exists, but they're seldom used. It says right here, they're seldom used, and they're very seldom used in writing, and they're also pretty seldomly used in speaking. You're more likely to hear them in speaking than writing, but you're not likely to come across them very often at all. People use the simple past of the modal verbs in speaking much more often than the perfect. But it's good to recognize them because you may encounter them. But I think that they are pretty recognizable because they have the g at the front, and then you can still see the stem going on in there. So they look kind of regular, even if they're not exactly regular. But ich habe gedurft, if you know what dürfen is, then it's pretty easy to guess. I was able to. But ich durfte is really the form you should be memorizing for your general usage. Du hast gekonnt, you were able to, but du konntest it's much better. Er hat gemocht. Hast du den Film gemocht? That one sounds all right. Sounds, yeah. Hast du den Film gemocht? Did you like the film? That one is maybe a little more useful, but I would still say mochtest du den Film. Wir haben gemusst, we had to. Sounds pretty archaic. Ihr habt gesollt. Oh wow, that sounds super stilted. Ihr habt gesollt. Ihr solltet is much better. Sie haben gewollt. Yeah, you have wanted it. I think there are some Bible verses where it says like Gott hat es gewollt. God wanted it. So there are like these archaic in archaic language they show up more often. Er hat es gewollt. Yeah, it sounds inflected. It doesn't sound standard. So we have modal verbs, of course, combination with the infinitive. So as with the auxiliary verbs, helping verbs, haben, sein, werden, you got to go to the end of the clause to add in your infinitive. So yeah, let us go to more examples that show that. An einem klaren Abend kann man viele Sterne sehen. So our first position is actually like a prepositional phrase. An einem klaren Abend, on a clear evening. It's a prepositional phrase, occupies position 1. Then position 2 is our conjugated modal verb, kann. Then we got our subject, man. And then we got our direct object, viele Sterne. And then at the very end, now we can do our infinitive verb. Ich will draußen unter freiem Himmel schlafen und die Sterne sehen. I want to sleep outside under the open sky and see the stars. So, ich will schlafen. It's technically not the end of the sentence because we're going to do another object and another verb, but ich will schlafen, and then it's sort of doing double duty because it's like ich will sehen. It goes for both of them. So you just do your infinitive, and then if you're going to add a whole nother phrase on, I mean, you're going to change the verb, then of course you need to move on to the next verb, but you don't have to repeat will. Ja. Der Philosoph musste sich immer fragen, was kann ein Mensch wissen? Was soll ein Mensch in dieser Situation tun? Was darf hoffen? So, the philosopher had to ask himself. Musste, normal verb position, fragen to the end of the clause. In the colon, we're starting a new sentence. Was kann ein Mensch wissen? What can a human being know? Yeah, so since we don't have anything else going on, then it's at the end of the English too, but only because we don't have a direct object or something. Yeah. What should a person do in this situation? Was soll ein Mensch in dieser Situation tun? So tun means to do in this context. Tun. And then what is he allowed to hope for? Was darf hoffen? Yeah. What may he hope for? What is he allowed to hope for? Yeah. And then we have modals with past infinitive. So, kann diese Tatsache nicht gewusst haben. Yeah, it's a little bit complicated, but I think it's pretty parallel to the English construction. He can these facts not have known. So we also say have known, and so we're using have known past participle. It's just a different word order, but we're still using the same parts. All three of these verbs are still like in parallel construction. Can, have, past participle known. Yeah. So basically, you just need to know you've got your modal verb in the normal position, second position, and then if you want to say have known, then you need to have your past participle second to last, and then your helping verb haben all the way to the end. Muss seinen Freund gefragt haben. He must have asked his friend. Yeah. So muss in the normal position, and then past participle second to last, and then haben, helping verb to the very end. So he must, his friend, asked, have. Die Geschichte muss wahr gewesen sein. The story must have been true. So muss, must, and then it's have been. So es ist gewesen, it has been, right? So the story must true have been, as in must have been true. So that won't show up too often, but you'll need to recognize what's going on there with those verbs. Modal verbs are also used without a dependent infinitive, without another verb to add at the end. And so this can happen in German in more ways than it could happen in English sometimes. So the verb tun is implied to do, right? Or das as the direct object. So das sollst du nicht, and it's like das sollst du nicht tun. That you should not. That you should not. Meaning that you should not do, meaning you shouldn't do that. Yeah. So we have das habe ich nicht gewollt. I didn't want that. I didn't want to do that. Ich habe das nicht tun wollen. I didn't want to do that. Yeah. You could also say ich wollte das nicht in the simple past. Ich wollte das nicht, I think sounds more natural. Other sources of information that help imply an omitted infinitive are adverbs and prepositional phrases, such as those that indicate motion or direction. So yeah, ich muss, if you just say ich muss plus a place you could go, it means you imply to go, right? Ich muss in die Vorlesung would be implying gehen at the end. I have to go to the lecture. And of course, this is a very common one. Ich muss auf die Toilette. I must to the bathroom. And you don't have to say, ich muss auf die Toilette gehen. You can say gehen at the end, but people usually don't. They'll say, ich muss auf die Toilette. I must to the bathroom. Go. Wann will wieder nach Deutschland? When does he want again to Germany? As in, when does he want to go to Germany again? Wann will wieder nach Deutschland fahren? Yeah. So if you want plus a place, yeah, any modal verb plus going somewhere or something that implies going somewhere, you can just assume they mean going. And here's another context where people often leave out the other infinitive is with languages. So Claire kann gut Deutsch, and then in parentheses sprechen, as in meaning it's optional. She can speak German well, or it's just she can good German, right? Claire kann gut Deutsch. So then you might ask, kannst du gut Deutsch? Can you good German? As in, can you speak German well? Kannst du gut English? Can you English well, or can you speak English well? Kannst du gut Spanish? Can you speak Spanish well? Or just leaving off the sprechen, can you Spanish well? Yeah. Ja, ich kann gut Deutsch. I can speak German well. Nein, ich kann nicht gut Deutsch. No, I cannot speak German well. So it's optional. You're perfectly welcome to add it at the end or just leave it out because it's implied. Okay, so now we have the homework for the end of Kapitel 8. So a few exercises just to practice those modal verbs from these slides previously, and then end of chapter exercises for Kapitel 8, and then move on to Kapitel 9 as indicated on the course calendar. Here are some little dialogues that contain modal verbs in the present tense. Go ahead and translate those. And then this is a little story about Cinderella in the past. So these are modal verbs in the simple past. Make sure you can translate those nicely. And then we've got all of the more complicated practice sentences at the end of the chapter and some texts if you can get to these as well. So, vielen Dank und wir sehen uns nächstes Mal. Tschüss, auf Wiedersehen, mach's gut.